Yes. What's good, everybody? Welcome back to Veterans Minimum. I'm your host, Nick Deus. At the Lamb Shows, where you can find me. My guys, what do we call in our group chat? What's our group chat? I got Agent Chris here. I got Dunbar, Teddy Dunbar.
Yeah, I don't know. We don't have a name.
Yeah,
it's just all three of our names. I have Chris and Nick. That's it.
Yeah, we definitely need a name, though, because I always come to you two for basketball shit. We've been trying to set this one up for a while now.
Yeah. Definitely a long time coming.
So, yeah, man, it's good to have you guys in here. Thank you for stopping by.
New studio, super sick, by the way.
Thank you, man.
Congrats,
thank you.
man.
I
It looks
appreciate
real
it.
good.
Thank you. I do need your approval. You know, Agent Chris. I keep calling him Agent Chris.
Now you're like an FBI agent.
Yeah, no. Agent, like he's gonna be handling all the funds eventually. What are we gonna? We're gonna go with like what? 10%, 15%? What are you thinking? If we go 15%, that's kind of high. But like you got to cover all the vacation expenses. You know, I get a little
No
crazy.
problem. Vacation. Don't worry, I'll take care of the vacation expenses. I'll take care of that.
I love it. Guys, there's a lot to break down. I haven't really had a chance to talk about NBA because football's been out of control with all this COVID shit, games getting moved left and right. Chris, how'd you feel about how the bubble played out, dude? With obviously the Lakers won the championship, but just like overall overarching feeling of what your thoughts were on the bubble.
And they did a good job coming up with something so fast, right? They had to react to it. They honestly, I think it did take a toll mentally on some of the players, and some of them came out and spoke about it, not being able to spend time with the people they care about. But at the same time, at the time, they weren't really sure. You know, all the certainties about the virus weren't out yet, so you had to be extra careful.
Did you bet on the Clippers and you're trying to just give an out for Paul George?
No,
Is that what it was? Because he was one of the guys that came out.
I didn't bet on the Clippers.
No, just fucking with you.
Well, I mean, on the pod, if you remember, I said the Lakers were going to win.
Yeah,
when everyone was saying the Clippers were going to win.
Well, I think I had you on the pod, and I went on that like rant for about 8 minutes out of nowhere talking about his playoff struggles, Paul George. I was just like, yo, just off the top of my head, I feel like he struggles. For every 30-point game he has, he'll have like 2 for 14.
Yeah.
And then we started going down, and I think we gave him a pass on like the first 2 years because it was still like Danny Granger's team. It wasn't really him yet.
Right.
But then, even like going back to the Heat matchups.
But he was going toe-to-toe with LeBron.
He was.
With nobody on his team.
I know, and I agree with you. That's why it's so weird. Yeah. Because like when he was with the Thunder, I thought he was an MVP. Like he finished third in MVP.
He was top 5 in the league when he was playing on the Thunder. Stats wise.
Yeah, no, but I'm saying just like in the MVP voting, I believe he finished third behind like Harden and Giannis.
Yeah.
But then you look at like the playoff struggles, and the reason why I bring that up is because what you said about like these guys with the mental health stuff, and as I've had my own battles with it and shit. So I totally understand them and I feel them. Like you're isolated from what you said from like your friends and family and like just being in the same place for 2 months, like that shit got to be ass, bro.
It's hard. It's probably also. I mean, it's a lot of times like there were stories where players would see their opponents like the day like the day of the game, where normally they'd be completely isolated, on their own hotels or their own houses or whatever, and they'd go to the game and only see the opponents when they step onto the court. But then they'd walk in like in Disneyland, they'd walk around. They
said it was like an AAU.
And then and they'd see
like
their opponent.
Traveled soccer.
Like I think Jamal Murray and Donovan Mitchell probably walked into each other right before a game. And mentally you're trying to prepare to beat down on this guy, right? Like mentally you're really trying to get the killer instinct. And to see this guy walking around, you're like, hey, what do you say hi? Like it's kind of awkward, right? Like,
definitely got to be
hey,
awkward.
what's up? Like it must have been a little more difficult to prepare mentally for the games.
You did AAU, didn't you?
I did.
How like what was like a AAU, I guess, trip? What was that? What is that like?
So you
also tell people like you play college basketball,
right?
Where? I know where, but
SUNY Delhi for 2 years. It was a junior college, so which means you only have 2 years of eligibility to play. And then I played at Maritime for the remainder 2 years of eligibility that I had. You get 4 years of eligibility, so I did 2 and 2. Maritime in the Bronx. It was also a SUNY school.
But I know when we were younger, you would go to all these camps and shit, and like I know you and Kyrie were friends on Facebook, like even before he kind of blew up.
Yeah, that's a fact. We went to that. So perfect example. We went to this thing called Mount Pocono Invitational. It was in Pennsylvania in the Poconos, and you literally stayed in a bungalow, and all it was eat, sleep, and breathe basketball. You wake up in the morning, you'd have breakfast, you'd do drills, go back, have lunch. You'd have 2 games, excuse me, then you do more drills, literally all day long, eat, sleep, play basketball, and then you do drills. You would they had so Kyrie's coach at the time, his name was Kevin Boyle. He had a whole bunch of Division I athletes. He had Gilchrist, who's the Knicks just signed. He had Dexter Strickland, who went to North Carolina. He had a whole bunch of Division I athletes. So he was a big time coach who would get big time talents, and he would run like a clinic. So he would do like specific drills. There was this one drill in particular where he would tie a basketball around a shopping bag, and you would like dribble. So he had a whole bunch of different crazy drills that he would do. So just being in that environment and seeing those same kids for like a whole week long and coming and going, eating together, competing together, doing drills together, just in the same setting, I guess is like similar to how the bubble was. And I guess that's the similarity it would be to it. Like
Do you think I didn't think about what you said, Chris, about it being awkward. But then
I think I read it on Hoops Hype, and it was like talking about it right before the game. Think about it, right? How do you mentally prepare for anything in general, right? You need to, especially something as seriously as, for them, it's not just basketball, it's a craft, it's an art, right? So you got to mentally prepare for that. You know, if it's game 3, game 4, it's series tied, you know, and
you got to be awkward if you just got cooked by that guy and then you're having breakfast with him.
Right, yeah, I mean, or seeing like
TJ Warren and Jimmy Butler were beefing. And then imagine having to see him by the pool and you square up like.
Yeah, no, that's true. It's funny that we laugh about it because that's like what your instinct would be.
Yeah.
But then like these dudes are all human too, so it's
and
just
later on
their
family, and then later on their families were allowed, so it did get better for them.
Look,
so at first they weren't going to allow like family members, and then like it got, things started to improve, got a little better, and they allowed you to bring like 2 family members max. I think. Remember LeBron wasn't bringing his kids, but his wife came, and then his son Bronny. I think high school was done, like school season was over, like the school year was done. But he asked, why didn't you want Bronny to be here? And he's like, it's just not for him. Like, I'm here on a business trip. He had his wife come. So I guess that they can, like, do their thing in the hotel room, like, on an off night or something. But, like, his family wasn't there,
Hey, man, locked in isolation.
I don't think there was any children there.
For 2 months. I don't think it'd be necessary to have kids there, too. No. This is coming from someone that has no kids, so I don't know, like, what that relationship is like. But how do you feel, Nick, about this quick turnaround, man? Like, it feels like the finals were yesterday. Like, they kind of were. It was like 6 weeks ago. And now, at the time we're recording, I mean, this episode is going up tonight, November 30th. The holiday season is around the corner. That's when the season's starting again.
December 16th, the preseason starts, and then the 22nd, right? The 22nd the season starts? Yeah.
I think so.
I love it. I'm really excited. I think the only teams that really don't get, the whole full off-season break that they would normally get. I mean, the real hoopers, like the real killers, are right in the gym like 2 weeks after the season's over. So if you really think about it, I mean, you're not really resting, right? As soon as the season is done, you take your little vacation, like 2-3 weeks, and then you're right back in the gym. I mean, because if you're a pro, these guys put in real time and real work in the off season. But I think that the only real teams that will not benefit from that were the Lakers, the Heat, the teams that went deep into the postseason. All those other teams, as soon as they lost, they left the bubble. And how many teams went to the bubble to begin with? I think there was only 16 teams, right?
I think 22.
Okay. Yeah, so 22. And a lot of those teams only played like 8 games.
Yeah.
So, and when the playoffs started, it was only 16. It was 8-8.
Damn, some of those teams, bro, if you think about it, have had like 8 months off.
You get what I'm saying? So, I mean,
like even the Suns, right?
Fair.
Like the Suns, they stopped playing in March and then they come back in July. They played for 2 weeks.
They played great. They played the greatest.
They did, team. For sure.
Yeah.
But then again, like what kind of that's so weird,
right?
So I'm fascinated by it.
I'm excited though. Yeah, I think the bubble went, and I'm surprised they're not doing it again because it was so effective. We got COVID going on now. It's like worse than it was when the bubble was going on.
The thing is, it's harder because they're not playing. I don't think they're playing all the games in the season, but you don't have just 8 games to play.
Right.
So you tell them to isolate in bubbles for I don't know how many game season it is. 50 something. What is it? I'm not 100.
I think they're doing 72.
Yeah,
72?
that's what 72.
All right, 72 games. Like they did it for 8 plus the playoffs, and that was.
It's definitely easier to sell an NBA team and players like, yo, you know what? Isolate for 3-4 months because of like the playoffs and shit. Or if you're like the Suns or you're the Grizzlies where you might have a chance to make the playoffs if a lot of crazy shit bounces your way. Like that's an easier selling point. That's why I never thought
there
would
were
work.
incentives for them to do it.
Exactly, but that's why I never thought it could work with the NFL.
Well, it's easier in the NFL, I think, because they play once a week, so they can. So the way they do,
There's more players though. But that's what I was going to say.
That's the hardest part for the breakouts. But I think they have more flexibility in postponing games.
Mm-hmm.
Because in the NBA, you postpone a game to there's a game every other day, basically in the NBA. Yeah. Every other day.
That's a good point. Wow.
And then in the NFL, it's not like that. It's once a week, sometimes once every 10 days. If you play a Thursday game, and then you have the game on the following Sunday. And the doctors will do contact tracing. Right? They'll see if there is a positive. They'll look at who was close to that area, who had interactions with that person, and they'll run contact tracing tests over and over again until they're comfortable with feeling like they've isolated the incident and no one else has been affected from that, and now they can move forward with the game. So when they're postponing games, it's because they're not 100% confident that virus has been contained, because it's possible to get the virus and not test positive for it, depending how long your incubation period is. Like you could get if you got it right now, your test probably might not show positive, but it will show up tomorrow. Yeah. So they need a certain number of days for that. Like in the NBA, you won't have that because you'll have a game in 2 days, and 2 days, and 2 days. Sometimes they have back-to-backs. Like so, it'll get dicey. I think it'll be much harder for the NBA than it will be for the NFL, to be honest.
So you agree with me? There should have been another bubble.
Maybe they do a series of bubbles in different cities. Yeah, maybe one in the Northeast,
because
Northwest,
I was going to say,
Southwest,
I think it's
more.
I think NBA players are more prone to going out too and not listening to the quarantine and staying home and doing the right thing.
The way they going out, I want to go out too.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, even look at Lou Williams. He went to Magic City really quick and stopped and got some wings.
Listen, man, he got wings named after him. I would probably go to that place too.
But you get what I'm saying? Like, I feel like they're more like prone to going out and having a good time. Like James Harden, like not going to a strip club for like a year.
Listen, man,
like,
let's be.
You know what I mean? Like, come on.
He also has his jersey retired in the strip club.
I'm saying that's James Harden. I'm doing whatever I want. I don't care about a virus.
Look at us. We're not professional athletes, clearly, and we're not fucking millionaires. I don't know, maybe some people here, but dude, imagine being 23 years old and you just signed the Supermax and like you're not gonna go out. First of all, you think you're invincible because you don't fit the mold of like the people that get sick from COVID, right? Everyone gets sick, but like they always say that it's the people over the 55ers. Like it hits more if you're elderly than you are like a young prime athlete. But then again, like this dude Cody Garbrandt in the UFC, he pulled out of his fight. He was supposed to fight this like 2 weekends ago for the title, for the 125 title, and he's been like like he can't train, and he had COVID. So like everybody, he's been.
That's the fighter that was supporting Trump.
No, that's Colby Covington.
Okay, the Kobe and Cody.
Cody, yeah. All right. If I show you a picture of him, you 100%. Definitely know him.
We watched a couple of his fights.
Yeah, he had a crazy comeback knockout. He's the one that like dances in the octagon too. Okay. Like he's mad flashy, but he's like a big prospect of theirs, and he had to pull out. So like, obviously it hits everybody different. But what I was trying to get to is, like, bro, if you're 23 years old and you're in Miami, or you go to like, if you're the Raiders, bro, like you're the Raiders, you're in Vegas now. That first week, you'd be like, all right, man, look, I'll stay inside, whatever. Then it's week 2, and like some girl DMs you on Instagram, like, hey, my friends and I are going to a bar. And how many times are you going to say no to these things, especially when you've been isolated? It's tempting. And I just think the temptation, yes.
You say, where's the party? If you look hard enough, you will find a party. I'm sure you could find a party. Now imagine James Harden or one of these guys, you know what I mean? And they know the Rockets are coming to town. Yo, James Harden's coming to town. Like,
yeah, we're painting him out to be a psycho too.
No, not at all. But I'm just giving him an example.
I am going to Miami on Fridays.
Yeah, no, and he said he was going soon, of course.
This kid's in Miami every other week, it seems like.
God bless him.
Yeah, well,
Must be nice. Must be nice.
Pretty fun,
dude. Do you think, as someone that's like super business savvy and like you in the business world, you're like really confident and comfortable in discussing these things. Do you think that one reason why they're not doing a bubble again is because some of these teams want to try to get people in the stadiums to get some money back? Like, I know it's crazy to think of like, you're a billionaire, you own a franchise. You are losing money though too.
Yeah. It's true though. Look at Jerry Jones really quick with Dallas, how fast he got all those fans in. What did they do, like 30,000 people?
They're up to like 40 now.
That's what I'm saying.
He's
so, like,
really pushing the envelope,
and
bro.
that's someone that's a billionaire.
There's definitely a commercial aspect to this, right? It's going to vary state by state depending on the rules. And some sense of normality is always, like, it just benefits everyone. But also, like, different types of people live in different states, and everyone is more comfortable with the level of risk. There's different levels of comfortability with the risks in COVID. So,
like,
those are not
respectfully, I'm not risking my life to go watch the Knicks.
Yeah, well, that's, I mean,
or my health.
I think I'm not going to see the Knicks, period. Like, I'm just done with it.
Yeah.
I'm done. I can't. Like, how many years now have I you want to talk about the Knicks now? We'll talk about the Knicks because you want Westbrook. I don't want Westbrook.
We'll definitely get to that. But I want to say because I feel like that's a reason why they're kind of pushing to not have a bubble again. I know it's also more difficult because now you have all 30 teams.
Yeah, but what they could.
I also feel like the NFL has something to do with it too, because the NFL is getting away with not doing with a bubble, and they're having success.
Because
college sports also.
Right, but also I would say with the NFL, right? They have a lot more flexibility, right?
That's a mad important point that he's making.
So much flexibility with the NFL.
Absolutely.
Actually, I was surprised they didn't do a buffer week. Like, if I were the NFL, I would have done an extra week in between, like in the middle of the season, like an extra bye week, so that you can reschedule games in that week.
What they initially
would have screwed
wanted
up fantasy football, but yeah, that would have been probably
what they initially wanted to do. Instead of a buffer week, they were gonna have the start times for the games. Remember, I was telling you that, and start them like a couple hours later. So instead of the 1 p.m. games, they'll test them at like 8 a.m. or do like a rapid test like early in the morning, and then have them kick off at like 4, and then the 4 p.m. games be bumped back to like 8, and then I guess do like Sunday night football on Monday and then Monday on Tuesday, and like extend the week out in the football season like that. Initially, I was reading that they wanted to like extend it out.
Well, the one thing that they've been saying that they're going to do in the NFL is the option of a week 18. Right, like at the time we're recording, they've moved the Steelers-Ravens game
twice already.
3 times.
3 times now. Now it's
Wednesday. It's the third time.
So like, what happens if that game gets completely canned?
That might not even play, right? And that's already affecting, because they have a primetime game the following week with the Cowboys.
So the Steelers play Washington. They're moving that game to Monday. So now next Monday we have a doubleheader. I
think that'd be 3 games.
Oh yeah, because then the Ravens and the Cowboys.
Are on Monday. Yeah.
Oh man,
that makes a nice FanDuel slate.
It does, yeah. I mean, as football junkies, it just makes it more appealing for us.
Yeah.
But
it does.
Grand scheme of things, I do think that they're going to have something set up like a week 18. That's something that I've been hearing them talk about.
They expanded the playoffs too. 4 extra playoff teams, right? 2 from each. Two more.
No,
each wild card?
There's definitely going to be 7 from each conference. I think the deadline passed for them to go to 8.
Okay.
Because
they were considering it if they had to do cancellation of games.
Yeah, that's when they were going to do it.
It was in the event of like they were cancellation of games, but I don't think the NFL. So I don't think the NFL wants to cancel this. They're doing everything in their part not to cancel.
Not to, of course.
The Steelers-Ravens game.
You know what that? Yeah.
I mean, but if there's a fine line here. They got to be really careful because I'm already seeing that there's some of like the Steelers players are not happy about the game being postponed 3 times. At the same time,
they missed out on a bye week too. You got to understand,
and also they weren't at fault.
Who?
The Steelers.
No, they weren't.
No,
it was the Ravens that all these tests are popping up, and they're the ones that.
That's why.
Positives? Something like that.
Bro, I lost count, dude.
From a coach that wasn't even on the staff too. Like
my buddy Marco, our friend Marco, was like, Marco too. You met him when we went to the Knicks draft party. He was like, how many players tested positive? I mean, I forgot how he said it, but he's like, my response to him was like, yo, you're better off seeing who hasn't tested than who has tested positive. Like, there's way more people that have tested positive.
Yeah. And I think now, because they postponed the game 3 times, they were saying Dobbins and J.K. Dobbins and Mark Ingram will be eligible to play.
I think there's a part of me that thinks that they want to get Lamar to be able to play.
To play, yeah.
Because especially now that it's going to be a standalone marquee game.
It's a big game. Look, it does seem
The resurrection of RG3, though.
I mean, I wish him all the best, and I hope so, but I don't know.
Nah, there ain't going to be no resurrection, bro.
Got a better chance to...
It's quiet for that.
Yeah.
Look,
444, 100K, you got a better chance at.
definitely, it seems like they want Lamar to play. I don't know when it was a 10-day period that they have, I think, for COVID. Like, where I think you need 10 days to clear COVID after you first get tested positive.
When you test positive, it's 3 consecutive negatives you gotta get
Right.
for you to be eligible to play.
After a certain period of time, though, I think.
Yeah, I think there's like a 48-hour grace period where you kind of got to like self-isolate, and then you get tested, and then it got to be 3 consecutive tests you got to get. That's the NFL protocol. So I don't know exactly what they're up to with that.
See, the Broncos, okay, so this game is getting postponed, obviously, because it was a primetime game. It was a Thursday game, right?
Yeah, it was supposed to be the Thanksgiving night game.
Right. The Broncos didn't get that treatment. They had to start a wide receiver off the practice squad.
I got an even better one for you.
Right?
Yeah.
What about the 49ers when they played with that JV team?
Yeah,
what was that? What week
the
was
Packers.
that?
Yeah, it was like week 7.
And it was on a Monday night game or Sunday night game.
Thursday night game.
Thursday night game. I knew it was an island game. That's literally what they should make the Ravens do. And
look, for as much as I love the NFL, it's a very hypocritical league too.
That's the
even
word I
when
was
you
looking
go
for.
back to some of the suspensions that they put out in the past. There was never like a precedent, right? Like the Oprah gif or the meme where it's like you get a car, you get a car.
Yeah.
It'd be like, yo, you popped for weed. All right, you get 4 games. All right, you pop for weed. All right, you get 8 games. Domestic abuse, 3 games for you. Domestic abuse, 12 games. It's like, yo, there's no like
They pick and choose.
Yeah, the only thing that's been consistent with them is, yo, you get popped for PEDs, it's 4 games, then it's 8 games, then it's a year. Like that's the only thing consistent. Like,
Yeah.
What if Fuller just got 6?
6-game suspension for Will Fuller. It makes sense now, maybe why he hasn't been hurt, right? Like PEDs and shit.
He's had an amazing season.
Oh, he's had a fantastic season. He's
Yeah.
like a wide
But this was
receiver.
his first season that he hasn't been hurt. He's usually you can rely. He's like the Anthony Davis of the NFL. Like you
That's
can
a
just
mad good comp. Yeah, he's
Thank
not
you.
as dominant as Davis is in
I
his
wouldn't-
position.
I
Well,
wouldn't say
I didn't get to
Anthony
finish.
Davis.
I like where your
I
head's
didn't
at
get to
though.
finish. You knew where I was going.
You're
yeah.
going about that.
In terms of injury wise.
I get that, yeah. I get
That guy's made of glass. Like
Yeah.
literally, like you can just count on him to have the GTD tag
He's-
next to his name.
Or he'll leave with like a hamstring or
exactly.
quad in the middle of the game.
Yeah, exactly. Second quarter, he's in the locker room, like
Yo,
on the
it's the
training
worst.
table.
I've owned Anthony Davis in fantasy basketball, and there isn't a player that can dominate the defensive stats the way he can, and the percentages from the center position.
Oh yeah.
Because center eligibility is huge in fantasy basketball.
In the span of like 2 minutes, he could put up
It's
like
in-
25
it's
fantasy
insane.
points.
It's
Blocks,
insane.
rebounds,
But
steals.
Yeah. Every time I look up, I refresh my phone, he's in the locker room for something. And he's just like you draft him knowing that's going to happen, right? But to his credit, he does come back most of the games.
Yeah.
But he just likes to give you a scare. He's always giving you a scare.